Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to give the KTEA. I've decided that it is best for us to learn how to administer it since it is one of the tests that's listed in the Dyslexia Resource Guide as one that covers many of the areas that you should assess. And so this would be one that it would be good if you knew how to give in case your psych examiners didn't give it, or if you had access to it and wanted to give it. Usually this is given by your psych examiner, and so that you can probably contact that person at your district, and more than likely they'll have a copy of this test that you could borrow. In the KTEA, I'm just going to show you some of the materials you should have. There's a scoring manual, which we'll look at in the next video. There's the administration manual, which you can look at, but I'm going to go over what you need to do. There are 2 of these flip chart spiral books, and this is really what you use to administer the test. Stimulus book 1 covers all of these areas listed here. And stimulus book 2 covers all of these areas. Now you'll see that there's areas on both of these that are not reading or literacy related, and that's because the KTEA is a test of achievement. It's an educational achievement test, so it tests in multiple areas because it is very important when trying to decide if a child has dyslexia that we look at their overall achievement abilities in connection to these other tests that we are using. Okay, so those are the 2 flip books. Then you have, and you'll have to make copies of these to use them. This is the student response book. This is the one I've been administering. This is the record form. And then depending on what all your students get to, there is a written expression booklet. This is level 2, which covers 1st and 2nd grades. This is level 3, which covers grades 3 through 5. And this is level 4, which covers grades 6 through 12 plus. Level 3, 4, 2. You would think there is a level 1, so I need to see, there might be something missing here. And we'll find that out here in just a minute. This is a test that's going to take you a little bit to administer, and I would encourage you to do it in several time settings if possible, because it is comprehensive. Okay, I'm just going to try to go over how to administer it just very briefly, because I think that once you get this test and you see it, you'll see that the administration part is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so when we start, we want to start with Stimulus Book 1. And if we open it up, we're starting with phonological processing. We have all of the tabs here for the different tests their students are going to take. And one side is directions for you, and the other side is something sometimes that you show the students, not always. Okay. So you are going, for phonological processing, it always gives you your start point and when to discontinue. You'll administer all sections. Grades pre-K through 12 plus, they all start at the beginning of every section, so we don't have a different place to start. and you end this section and go on to the next section of the test after 3 consecutive scores of 0. And I will show you what I'm talking about here. It also says do not penalize for exaggerated single phoneme sounds. So we know that they need to say g, but if they say g, that's okay. We can still count that. Okay, so our first section is blending. You can use Puppet. I don't use the Puppet. I just go straight here to the sample. What's in red is what you're going to say. So this is the sample. I'll say a word one part at a time. Listen carefully and then put the parts together to make a whole word. Ready? Sun, shine. What is the word? And then over here are the correct responses, and the student should say sunshine. And then you're going to score it over here, 0 if they got it, 1 if they didn't. When you get, this is the first section. So my student that I've been testing completed the whole first section. But if your student misses 3 in a row, then you would not give the rest of the blending section and go right on to rhyming. Okay, that's section 2. Okay, so then we're going to turn through here. This is the blending part. Now we get to rhyming, and this is where you're going to set it up where it's like this, so your student can see the pictures and you can see what you're supposed to read to them. I will say 3 words. 2 of them rhyme, but 1 doesn't. Which one doesn't rhyme with the others? Listen. And then you're going to show them the pictures. Bee, knee, hat. Okay? One of them doesn't sound like the others. Which one doesn't rhyme? And they should say hat, and your answer is here. Okay? Again, you're going to record that over here under rhyming. You'll notice that my student missed 1 when we got to number 16, but you have to miss 3 in a row to discontinue. And so he didn't, so we were able to finish the whole rhyming section. But if they miss 3 in a row, you go straight to the next section, which is sound matching. Okay? When we get to sound matching, it tells you to point to the picture. You have pictures over here of the hat and say, this is a hat. One of these, and I'm pointing to the others, ends with the same sound as hat. Which one is it? And then you'll point to each picture and say, pin, net, head. Which one ends with the same sound as hat? Okay, and your student should say net, and you're going to record those over here. If they get 3 in a row wrong, you stop and go to the next section. The next section is deleting sounds. So again, we have our directions here. You're going to record here. I think that we don't have to go through every one of these because you see it's the same for every section. You have the discontinue rule if they miss 3 in a row. This is not timed. You have what you're going to say in red. If they say an incorrect response, it tells you that you can go on to another sample to help them, and it gives you the correct response on the right-hand side, and then you're going to record 0 if they missed it, 1 if they got it correct. Okay? That's deleting sounds. Then you have segmenting is the final section in phonological processing. So then the next part is math concepts and applications. So that's this tab. You will need to provide your student with paper and a pencil, starting with item 36, and you're going to tell the student you're going to ask them to do some math. This time you do have a start point depending on the grade. My student just finished 2nd grade, and so I chose to start at that entry point, and so we started with number 18. Okay? They have to pass the first 3 items given, or you drop back 1 start point. So we started with 18. If he did not get 18, 19, and 20 correct, we would have to jump back to the start point for 1st grade. Okay? So very important that you do that. This time, you're going to stop testing after 4 consecutive scores of 0. So we need 4 this time. Okay? And so Hudson did very well on the math part. He finished all of these and made it over to the 2nd page. This is why it took longer to administer, because he was just so good at math. Okay? And you see the math is a pretty beefy section here, but it's just depending on how much they pass. The next section is letter and word recognition. You're going to ask them to do some reading. If they become stuck on an item, you're going to tell them to try the next one. If they say a word in disconnected pieces and then stop, you're going to ask them to say it all together. Again, we have a start point here. So Hudson started with number 22 because he ended in 2nd grade. He has to pass the first 3 or go back until 3 are reached. He easily passed the first 3, so we were fine. This says that you should allow the examinee to finish the entire page before reversing, and you can, but if they are clearly frustrated, then I would encourage you just to stop and not let them finish the page. You can kind of gauge that based on how your student is responding. Again, stop testing after 4 consecutive scores of 0. Okay? So since he started at 22, I'm going to show you what that would look like. 22 shows them those words, and you just point, where does this? And he'll read on it. B was apple that. And you have the words here. Okay? So he did very well before he missed 4 in a row, and we stopped once he did that. Okay? Then we are back at math. This time it is computation. So we're going to turn to math computation. We do have a start point. Since Hudson just finished 2nd grade, we just started with number 1. He has to pass the first 3 items, or we've got to reverse until I get 3 consecutive scores of 1, and stop after 4 consecutive scores of 0. So since we started with number 1, it's very easy. I'm looking, where are my apples? I'm going to do some math. Point to the apples. How many apples are here? Where are my apples? Let's see. Oh, now I remember. This is where you're going to pull out the response booklet. Math computation starts on page 3. And there's the apples, okay? And so your student will write there. Some things, there's blanks there, and so you're asking them to do things. Some things you're giving directions, but then they have a picture here, okay? And so they'll write in the book, in their booklet, but then you still score it over here if they get it correct or not. And your answers are still on the right-hand side. So once they get 4 in a row incorrect, then you go to the next section. And this one is not timed. Then you get to nonsense word decoding. Stop testing. Oh, everybody starts with item 1. Stop testing after 4 consecutive scores of 0. And they're going to start with just reading words. Okay? And these were nonsense word decoding. He finished 2nd grade and did not make it very far here. Okay? The next test is writing fluency. And you notice I don't have anything scored there yet because they are going to do writing in the booklet. So writing fluency is here. It says it starts on page 11. And these are the items. These are the sample and these are the teaching items. Okay? And then this is where it starts, the test starts. And it says that you just start at the very beginning with grades 2 through 12, okay? So if your student is not in 2nd grade, you don't give this test. This is grades 2 through 12, okay? The other thing that's important here is you need a stopwatch because they are given 5 minutes for them to complete as many as they can. And basically they have pictures and they're to write a sentence about each picture and complete as many as they can in 5 minutes if they are in 2nd grade and above. Then we get to silent reading fluency, grades 1 through 12. We're going to start with sample A. They will need, you'll need your response booklet and you'll need a stopwatch. Your student gets 2 minutes for silent reading fluency to complete as many as possible. That starts in your student response booklet on page 19. Before you get there, there is your sample items and teaching items, and then here begins the test. And they're just reading the sentences and answering yes or no, okay? And again, this one is timed 2 minutes. And then the last one in this spiral is the math fluency. They get 1 minute to complete as many items as possible. This is also grades 1 through 12. And it starts on page 26. And that is, oops. Holding the camera and, oops, turning the pages. Yes, here we go. And this is where the math starts, okay? And you set the timer 1 minute, as many problems as they can, okay? And then you're finished with the first stimulus booklet and you're going to go on to the second stimulus booklet. And you have reading comprehension, which it starts with pre-K through 12th grade, and it gives you a start point. Written expression is pre-K through 12th grade, and you get a start point. Associational fluency is pre-K through 12, and everybody starts at number 1. Spelling, you have a start point, and it's kindergarten through 12. Object naming is pre-K through 12. Everyone starts with the practice. Reading vocabulary is grades 1 through 12. You have a start point. And then we have a basal and discontinue rule here. Letter naming facility, grades K through 12 start with the practice items, and you have a discontinue rule. Listening comprehension, there will be an audio file. This is pre-K through 12 plus, and you have a start point. And it does say here what the audio track is going to say. So I suppose if you did not have the audio track or want to use the audio track, you could just read this to them since it's listening. Everything is there for you on the side, and sometimes that's easier. Word recognition fluency is for grades 1 through 12, and you have an item set start point. Oral expression is pre-K through 12, and you have a start point and a basal and discontinue rule. And then the final test is decoding fluency, and this is for grades 3 through 12, and they'll start with trial 1. Okay? All right, so good luck on this. I think it's going to be self-explanatory once you get going. It is kind of long. Remember, you might want to do this in sections. Know that you're learning, and it's the first time that you're giving this. And so cut yourself a little slack when you're giving the assessment. And if you have to be just a little slow in giving directions, or you get a little lost and you have to really read and have your kiddo wait just a second on you, that is perfectly fine. That's part of learning to give an assessment. So good luck on administering this, and I will come back later and talk about scoring.